she basically just admitted it, Kiron. I was among those who spied on the Trump transition team. It raises question over whether the information was collected properly.
It does, but I don't know if she was the main person collecting the information regarding Russia. But the fact that a government official would go on television and make that kind of revelation just makes the story a lot more complicated. But I will say the Senate, to speak to your earlier point, the Senate Intelligence Committee, I think, is going to do a serious bipartisan job and look at both sides, both Russian connections after the Obama administration or Hillary Clinton's campaign, more precisely, and possible connections between the Trump side. I think they've got to look comprehensively at everything in order to stay within the bipartisan spirit. That will be crucial to their credibility in the end, and I hope that they approach it in that way.
James Freeman here with the Wall Street Journal. I'm wondering what you think about FBI Director Comey and whether he can really continue to do this job. And he seems to talk too much in public about his investigations, but now we learn not as much as he'd like to talk. Is it possible that something he moves on, or he goes back to kind of a traditional role where they do investigations, they bring cases to the Justice Department then makes judgments on how to proceed?
You're asking the hardest question of all. You know, the destiny of Comey is something I cannot begin to understand in all of this, but I do think there's been a compromise in the intelligence community. And, you know, after 9/11 and the 9/11 Commission, the intelligence community really resurrected itself in terms of reputation and stature, and it's, you know, going downhill again. And I think having your lead intelligence officers become public officials who are entering the public discourse on a daily basis at this level compromises their work and their ability to really have the confidence, not just of the American public, but those in the executive and legislative branch with whom they work. So this is a very difficult time for Comey. It will be interesting to see if he survives.
You know what? It's interesting that you raised this, because Michael Mukasey, former AG, was on with me on Sunday, and he said that the Trump administration had an opportunity to clean house when they first came in.
Right.
Obviously, natural time to do it. New administration, everybody's out, clean house. They didn't do it then for Jim Comey, and now he feels that they can't do it because it's going to just look political if they were to say, Jim Comey, you know, leave now. So,
especially with Comey sitting in front of that congressional panel and saying that we're looking into contacts between Trump campaign officials and Russia.
Right.
Now that he comes out and says that and then says nothing else and kind of, you know, dangles that piece of bait, it leaves President Trump with no choice but to keep him in the job. I mean, you might disagree.
Well, I take your point. Maybe you wait a bit on this, but I think for Comey, for House Intel ranking member Adam Schiff, I think we've had enough of people saying in the media, there's a problem here, there's a problem here. At some point, they're going to have to come out with the evidence. And Mr. Schiff keeps saying circumstantial and now more than circumstantial.
Right.
They leak everything except the evidence.
And the mainstream media is like, well, we don't have evidence yet. Not yet.
Right. But there's more evidence that there might be evidence. Like, it's nobody knows what we're talking about here. It is the most, and the more that we keep saying Russia, Russia, the more it happens, the more people think that Trump did something, but there's no evidence that Trump did anything.
There's a bigger problem here, because the more everybody focuses on Russia, the less time people are focused on the agenda.
That's right.
And what did we begin the show with? These polls that the American people want tax reform to happen. They want jobs creation to happen. So is there a risk here that the agenda gets busted because of all of this conversation? Which is, by the way, what the Dems probably want.
We've seen, you know what, I think that President Trump should stop tweeting about it, because, again, he gave fuel to the fire that he tweeted that Obama ordered wiretapping on Trump Tower.
Yeah.
That's all that the Democrats can talk about. But kudos to Senators Burr and Warner, who seemed quite sober for a couple of lawmakers yesterday in terms of them talking about trying to get to the bottom of this.
You make all the right points. Kiron, good to see you. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Kiron Skinner joining us there.